Good afternoon, Chamber members. For those of you that I have not met yet, my name is Angie Talent. I'm the broker owner of Summers Sotheby's International Realty, and I am the 2021 chair of the Fairbanks Chamber Board of Directors. I'd like to take a moment, as we do each week, to thank our executive partners whose logos you saw on the screen before we began our program today. These businesses provide the foundation that makes our work possible here at the Fairbanks Chamber. The businesses also support the Chamber by sharing knowledge and experience that helps shape our advocacy efforts and create awareness that drives economic strength in Interior Alaska. You'll find the full list of executive partners on our website. And now I'd like to welcome Katie online to help us recognize our new and our renewing members. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Angie, and thank you for joining us, everyone. I would like to give a big welcome to our newest member, the Roaming Root Seller. They invite the Fairbanks community to connect with local goodness. Everything they carry is made or grown in Alaska, and you can stop in for an authentic taste of our vibrant state and support local growers and artisans in the process. We love that, and we are happy to have them on board. Welcome, Erica and your team. Thank you to the following renewing members this past week: the City of Fairbanks, Fairbanks Building and Construction Trades, Fairbanks Soil and Water Conservation District, and Page Sculptor Studios. Thank you for your renewing membership. And a big thank you to our member who joined our 110% club this past week. That's Information Insights, Inc. That member contributed above and beyond their membership dues to help us with our advocacy actions, and we're very grateful. Thank you. Thank you all for your continued support of the Fairbanks Chamber, and back to you, Angie.
Thank you, Katie. And now for my chair report. Our Government Relations Committee met this morning with Nolan Clouda from the University of Alaska Center for Economic Development. He provided an overview of the research being done about why workers seem so scarce in Alaska right now. While the enhanced unemployment benefits may play one part, the numbers seem to show that reduced childcare options and shifts in the labor market may play an even greater role. Many industries have started rehiring workers at roughly the same time, so in our already tight market in Alaska, this creates immediate scarcity. Hopefully, understanding the factors at play can help employers attract new workers as we all get back to business. And yesterday, the Chamber hosted a ribbon cutting for Aurora Audiology's grand opening. You can check out the recording on our Facebook page and learn about the hearing healthcare opportunities that Aurora Audiology now offers in Fairbanks. So next, I'll welcome Katie back for our Chamber staff report. Hi, Katie.
Thank you again, Angie. So just to let everyone know today, we will be wrapping up early so that our team here at this chamber can run over and join our Leadership Fairbanks graduating class of 2021. Our leaders had a fully virtual series this year, and we were happy to offer them the opportunity to meet each other for the first time today. We will be sharing their graduation footage with everyone next week. Thank you to Jeff Welch, our facilitator. He pivoted with us to be sure Leadership Fairbanks could continue in 2020, and we appreciate his leadership and partnership with us. We would also like to say a big thank you to all the sponsoring organizations who continued their support of Leadership Fairbanks this past year: ConocoPhillips Alaska, CSG Inc., Design Alaska, GCI, Kaizen Associates Inc., Mac Federal Credit Union, Summers Sotheby's International Realty, hey Angie, Shannon and Wilson Inc., Usabelli Coal Mine, Wells Fargo, and our Diversity and Inclusion Scholarship sponsor this year was Good Cannabis. Thank you all very much for your continued support and for working with us. And congratulations, leaders. See you soon. For more information on Leadership Fairbanks and our other programs, please visit fairbankschamber.org. Back to you, Angie.
Thanks, Katie. So now for our main presentation. The Fairbanks Chamber is a strong advocate for healthcare in Interior Alaska, including behavioral health. The health of our people is important for our business, economy, and community as a whole. So today we are happy to have Dr. Hugh Leonard from the Alaska Behavioral Health with us to give us an insight on effective interpersonal communication and how it is beneficial in the workplace. Dr. Hugh Leonard earned his PhD in clinical community psychology, jointly offered at the University of Alaska Fairbanks and the University of Alaska Anchorage. Prior to graduate school, he worked on Dr. Marcia Linehan's randomized control trial assessing of DBT for adolescents. Dr. Leonard completed an APA-accredited predoctoral internship in clinical community psychology at Yale School of Medicine as a DBT fellow. While at Yale, he was intensively trained in DBT and DBT for prolonged exposure. Dr. Leonard went on to complete an APA-accredited postdoctoral residency in clinical psychology at Harvard UCLA Medical Center, where he served as an assistant clinical director of the CBT-DBT program in adult outpatient clinic. While at Harvard UCLA, he provided training, supervision, and consultation in CBT and DBT to Los Angeles County Medical Health clinicians. Dr. Leonard serves as the clinical training manager and senior clinician at Alaska Behavioral Health Fairbanks Adult Services. So thank you, Dr. Leonard, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Dan. I am super honored to be with you all. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, is the screen showing? Great. So as part of Mental Health Awareness Month, I'll be speaking today about applying interpersonal effectiveness in the workplace. So this topic is not only relevant to our experiences at work, but also to mental health in general. So let's talk a little bit about that. So for example, if you could think, of a time that you've been in a situation where you're having a conversation, right, perhaps with a coworker, a friend, or a loved one. Maybe they're providing you feedback, asking you a question, telling you about a situation, and all the while, right, you're unclear of what they want or what their goal is or what they're asking of you, right? I'm sure many of us have found ourselves in that situation, and if we're being honest, perhaps at times we've also not been clear in our communication. Now, if you can think back to these situations and reflect on maybe how you felt during or after some of these interactions, maybe you felt confused, frustrated, maybe your need or the other person's need goes unmet, and so on. So research has shown that ineffective communication is linked to our needs not being met, high distress, and can even result in unhappy relationships. So this can result in experiencing negative emotions, which is kind of a natural consequence, right? And over time, if ineffective communication continues and if negative emotions continue to linger, that can make life really difficult. We may experience high stress at work, at home, in our lives. Our needs may continue to go unmet. We may not accomplish our goals. We may not be as productive. And in some cases, persistent ineffective communication and lingering negative emotions can develop, and can result in kind of serious psychological distressing conditions such as like depression and anxiety. So this is something that happens to us all, and we can sometimes be susceptible to these larger problems. So now for the good news. The good news is that there are ways to improve our effective communication, which results in positive outcomes. So for example, in looking specifically at the workplace, research has shown that effective communication in the workplace actually predicts job satisfaction, it predicts job motivation, and it predicts retention, like people stay longer in their jobs. So pretty cool. So today, we'll talk about a specific strategy that comes from a therapy we offer here at Alaska Behavioral Health called Dialectical Behavior Therapy, otherwise known as DBT. And this strategy I'll go over can easily be remembered with the acronym DEAR MAN. So the goal of DEAR MAN is to make a request of another person skillfully in order to attain your objective and your goal. So the first step before using this skill is to take a beat and get connected to your goal. So what is it that you are wanting from this person, that you are wanting them to do from this interaction, getting really clear and anchored in what your goal is. Okay. So let's talk about Dearman. What is this? So this acronym, the first part of the acronym, D, stands for describe, and then express, assert, and reinforce. That's the DEAR. And these are things that you say. So we'll go over each one individually. So describe. This is where you stick to the facts, right? You describe the situation. The goal here is to be objective, like describing the situation such that the other person can actually agree on what the situation is. Otherwise, the request that you're making will not be well received. Like, you and the other person have to be in agreement on what it is you're talking about. Now, what happens to all of us is that as we describe a situation, we often, at the same time, start describing how we feel about it, right? We start kind of describing our feelings, our opinions, which is a very natural thing to do. And what's also true is it can make it confusing for the other person. Like, what am I responding to? How you feel of the situation? So this acronym is just a reminder of a way for us to kind of parse this out, right? First, we describe the situation, and then we describe we express our feelings, right? Our opinions. And important tip, I'll give you all a tip, a strategy, is that when you're describing your feelings, your opinions, is to use I statements, right? Like, not saying, well, you've made me, feel really bad about this thing, or that can kind of feel like attacking. So again, we want to say, well, I felt this, or I don't think this should have happened this way, right? Keep it about you. The next part of Dear Man is the assert. So here we are, we've described the situation, we've kind of said, how we feel about it, our opinions, and now we assert our wishes. This is where we ask for what we want. And again, this is going to be anchored back to that original goal. So before you approach someone, family member, a friend, a colleague, you've thought about, okay, this is what I want them to do. This is, whatever. Now you ask for it. It's so important because I think this happens to all of us on some level at different times, where we may, assume that the other person knows what we want, right? By describing the situation, describing how we feel. Well, of course they would understand that I want them to do this thing. Don't assume that expressing your feelings and opinions, other people will know your request. So asking and expressing are kind of two different things, right? So you're going to have the most bang for your buck if your request is clear and concise, right? Kind of one sentence. And it's important to be mindful not to demand, right? That can be damaging to relationships, right? We're not making a demand, we're making a request. We're asking someone to do something. And so personally, I like to lead with, would you be willing? Would you be willing to cover me for this 1 hour? Would you be willing to help me out with the dishes? Would you be willing to do this, willing to do that, right? And lastly, the last point I'll say when we assert our wishes in communication is to ask for one thing at a time. We may, and it's totally true, we may want the person to do multiple things. But ask for one thing at a time, keep it simple. Okay. And the last part of what you say using the strategy is the idea of reinforcement, reinforcing the other person. So when we're talking about reinforcement, we're talking about that our behavior, the decisions that we make each day are driven by outcomes of that behavior, consequences. So sometimes outcomes can be desirable and sometimes outcomes can be undesirable. So for example, we tend to keep doing things. We tend to repeat our behavior when there's been a positive benefit. So if you think about going to work, maybe something you're passionate about, that's a positive benefit. Contributing to the community, that's a positive benefit. Earning a paycheck, that's a positive benefit. Like, because of these positive benefits, we keep going to work. Another example of maybe an undesirable outcome is that we tend to stop doing things that have a negative outcome. So if you think about, maybe you've gotten a speeding ticket for driving over the speed limit. That's an undesirable outcome, right? And that kind of gets us to, be a little bit more mindful of our speed and obeying traffic laws. So as it relates to communication, the idea here is to explain the positive outcomes that would be positive for the other person to grant your request, right? Sometimes we may clarify like the negative consequences, right, of our request isn't granted, right? Like if, and it's important to remember that generally speaking, people respond better to a carrot more so than a stick. So you want to identify the carrot. Like take into account the other person's perspective and motivation, and what would this other person have to gain by them granting a request. So, hey, if you help me out with the dishes, that'll make it so we can spend more time together playing cards or watching that movie, right? And maybe that's something that your loved one would want to do, right? Okay, so that is what you say. Does this mean that you type out a script and read the script because I gotta hit the DEAR? No, not at all, right? This should be natural, fitting in your own style of communication, your own voice. These are just strategies to kind of tuck in your back pocket to be mindful of as you make a request at home, family, or the workplace. So let's talk about how you say it, because this is important, right? Maybe you know what to say, but then how does it deliver, right? When the other person responds and it opens up into a conversation, what do I do then? Well, this is what you do. The first is to stay mindful, and that's the M in man, stands for mindful. So stay mindful and present with your goal, and don't get distracted on another topic. It is so natural and so common that when we talk with a colleague, talk with a friend, and we make a request, maybe someone feels defensive and they're like, well, you're asking me to be on time. Well, guess what? You weren't on time the other day, right? Or maybe that naturally brings up another topic. Oh yeah, the dishes need to get done. Guess what? That also reminds me, we need to work on that other room because that needs right? The idea here is to stay mindful of your goal. Ignore diversions, ignore attacks. Maybe if you have to, be a broken record. If we start engaging in these side conversations, we're going to lose track of our goal. That when we assert our wishes, it's probably the conversation is going to divert and not be as kind of what we're hoping for it to be. So again, stay mindful. Second strategy on how we say things is a pure confidence, especially in those situations. It can bring up anxiety, right? When we're asking someone to do something, a colleague, a friend, a loved one, maybe we don't want to come off confrontational. We don't want the other person to feel judged, right? We're just wanting them to do this thing. So the idea here is not be confident. It's a pure confidence. It's totally natural to have maybe some anxiety and butterflies in the tummy come up, but be confident, right? So maintain eye contact, right? Have a confident tone of voice, relaxed posture, no stammering, whispering, looking at the floor, like, would you please do the dishes if you don't mind? No, right? Going to be hard for someone to first understand what you're saying, but also maybe understand how important that goal is to you. And then finally, my favorite and kind of a guiding principle as you're engaging in a conversation with someone is to remember to negotiate, right? Again, we're not demanding, right? We're making a request, we're asking for something. So, it may involve, if you're asking someone like, hey, can you cover my shift? Like it may involve some problem solving, right? It may involve some negotiation, right? Be willing to give to get. If you cover my shift, yeah, I'll totally cover you for you on this other day, right? Finally, it's totally true that when we're trying to solve problems in work or in our personal lives, and maybe we have a potential solution, we're making requests, and the other person maybe see it differently. It's important to negotiate and maybe include the other person in the problem solving. Like, well, golly, here's the problem. What do you think we should do about this, right? How should we go about solving this? And really gets the other person engaged and allows them to have a voice and kind of takes the pressure off of your shoulders. Okay, so let's look at an example of Dear Man. So describing the situation, so you told me you'd be home by dinner, but you didn't get here until 11 p.m. When you go home so late, I start to worry about you, right? Express, assert. I would love it if you would call me when you're going to be late. And then reinforce, I would be so relieved and a lot easier to live with if you did that, right? Kind of an example of how that technique can work. Okay, so, as you can see, this strategy is widely applicable, it's useful, and this is something that we can all use in our personal lives, in our professional lives. And here at Alaska Behavioral Health, when clients come to seek services, this is one of the skills and part of the therapy that we go over with our clients in helping them out, and even a technique that we as therapists use as well. Okay, so I'd like to conclude my presentation, my time with you all today, by saying a little bit about the services we here provide at Alaska Behavioral Health and ways to contact us for services. So Alaska Behavioral Health, we truly believe in wellness for everyone, and kind of our goal, our mission in serving the great state of Alaska and the Alaskan communities is to improve the lives of our clients. And we do this by delivering exceptional behavioral health care. We truly believe that recovery is possible for everyone. So we serve family, youth, transitional age youth. We work with adults and military families and veterans. And we work with really anything anyone wants to work on. We work on a wide range of mental health challenges, ranging from anxiety and depression to serious mental illness like bipolar and schizophrenia. We also help folks out that struggle with substance use. Services we provide individual therapy. We also provide group therapy. We do have psychiatry, so we are able to provide medication. We work on skills development with our clients. And we do this through therapy as well as case management. And we also do outreach. And so, every day we have stories of our clients, overcoming the impact of their mental illness and living their best life. It's really rewarding and a journey that we take with our clients. We take all insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance. For those without insurance, we do have a sliding scale fee. This is our number for our Fairbanks clinic, 907-371-1300. And if you wanted to donate and support, you can choose the pick, click, give. You can choose to file some of your PFD by choosing Alaska Behavioral Health. And then finally, we do have a crisis line. Our staff is available 24/7 throughout the week to help out. So our after hours line is listed 1-888-371-1309. And then we also, we have hotlines as well listed here for National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255, as well as the care line, the Alaska Care Line Crisis, which is 1-877-266-4357. Thank you, everyone, for having me today. It was a joy to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leonard. We really do appreciate your time and you sharing that with us. So normally we would do Q&A right now, but just so that our audience knows, Dr. Leonard has some appointments this afternoon, which we're very glad about, that he's doing good in the community. But thank you, Dr. Leonard, so much for being here and for sharing your time. If you want to just say goodbye and thank you to everyone.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. If any questions, feel free to reach out. And at Alaska Behavioral Health, we are here to work with you. So again, feel free to reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again so much. And just so everyone knows, if you did have any questions that you wanted to ask Dr. Leonard, please email those to Jackie, Jackie, at fairbankschamber.org, and she will be happy to pass those on to him. He has assured us that he will get us answers. If you have any questions for yourself or for your business, we will make sure that you get those answers. And then, like we said, we will be wrapping up early today to get over to celebrate graduation with our leaders. Thank you again, Dr. Leonard, for sharing this update with our membership. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today for your engagement. We appreciate you. We hope to see you all on YouTube next week when we will be continuing our diversity and inclusion series with a presentation from UAA Sociology Professor Nelta Edwards. And thank you, Fairbanks. We'll see you next week. Bye.